welcome to another episode of Just the Tip. We are here having some fun, and I'm Josh.
And I am King Benjamin Cage, and I'm really excited to talk about some of the shit we're going to talk about and what Josh is doing on the iPad over there.
We got some fun stuff. So you are going to see me looking down because I'm going to talk and be doing some artistic stuff at the same time. But we
artistic, not autistic.
That's right. That's right. But we wanted to go over some of these topics that we came up over the last week or so. And some of these, too, were just stuff that we were just chatting on now that are some pretty cool things that are happening. And then there's also just some cool stuff that are apparently being made that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not so cool stuff, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But it's full gamut.
It's a give and take.
Yeah, it sure is. So, with that being said, we are going to share our screen. We're going to roll right on over to the first piece, which I thought was amazing when I got talking about this vehicle that you see on screen right now. And I know you can't really see what is in here on the little screen if that's what you're watching on a phone, but this is an electric vehicle, and I whether you're a big fan of electric vehicles or not, that's up to everybody's perception. I'm not, but this one I am.
It's pretty fucking Jetson-y.
So what this actually is this was nicknamed, and it's I think it's called Xpeng is how the company is actually pronounced. But they are making 10,000 of these a year, and they started last year. They just started the 2025 pre-orders. There's already 2,000 of them out of 10,000 pre-ordered. But it's not just an electric van. I'm going to play the video just so we can get right into it.
Put me down for 2 of these. Literally, it looks like a half-gallon milk.
It does. Except I've never poured that out of a 2% bottle.
Yeah. Shit is getting moist. I just want to pull up on some of that.
I know.
Some spy hunter shit right here, dude.
So there's actual videos, because this was the original concept video that they put together for this. There's actual videos of them testing this and everything too.
Yeah.
So there's one where it's doing a flyover of a city. But some things, and it doesn't say it in this video, some things that this does, it was 1,000 kilometers for a single charge of that van. That drone that you saw come out the back,
you don't want to cancel
that was actually fully. Yeah, let's get
a little
that.
serene background here. Yeah.
So that was a nice drone.
Yeah,
but guys, that was a fully
you...
autonomous flying drone. So the way that reads is, and they explain in the other video, there is no pilot's license, any licensing needed to operate that vehicle. You put in your flight plan, it does takeoff, the flight, and landing all autonomously. And allegedly it can do, I think they said 1 hour flights and up to 5 hours of continuous flight. And it will charge to 80% in 18 minutes when you get it back into that mothership van.
Dude, welcome to fucking Halo real life.
Dude, we were talking because I could imagine just getting on the highway, being stuck in some accident crap, pulling your vehicle over, because you can leave your vehicle on the side of the road for up to 48 hours. I'll give you that little ticket that says come pick it up. Just fly out.
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
Yeah, dude. Can you imagine you're in a traffic jam, you gotta take a shit? Like, all right, dude, yeah.
So how this all came up, we were just chatting about the cost of vehicles and some vehicle issues going on in our own lives, and got on the topic of how expensive they are.
Fucking Nissan Armadas.
Dude, if anybody knows anything about the new Hummer that's out, there's an Omega version trim that goes all the way up to $200,000. This thing's $280,000.
So for under $300,000, you could be a real life Jetson.
Yeah. So
I'm in.
Anybody that wants to split that with me and King, we can go multiple ways.
Let's go. I'd say we just get 3 of them our own, and just
yeah.
Can you imagine just pulling up in a nightclub like, oh shit, your shit comes out, your little milk carton just fucking extracts this drone, and then you fucking fly it up and park it on a parking garage. Yeah, that.
Could you imagine taking that van to Home Depot, going to pick up some wood, and just be like, "Can I leave my helicopter here?"
You would be the talk of the town because you remember how like it used to be the dock back in the day in Erie, Pennsylvania. It used to be the dock. Now it's Dobbins Landing. But everybody used to take their hot rods down there. It's where everybody used to hang out. Imagine pulling up in one of them motherfuckers and just flying to the peninsula.
Right, wherever you want to land.
Like, hey, everybody's got boats and shit. And you just like, you know, like, oh shit, yeah. You just fly over them and they're
Land
like,
on
what
somebody's
the
yacht.
fuck? Dude, that'd be dope.
Yeah, and hey, that one actually, I see the value in 280. I don't know
I-
about that Hummer or 200.
I'm in, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lease it.
yeah.
There it is.
exactly.
Let's fucking go.
That's the way to go. So that was just some random crap we were doing. So if this is your first time joining us, it's gonna go everywhere from products to politics to random happenings, kind of a little bit of everything. So make sure you push
Everything.
subscribes and that little bell notification, not that bellification. Next one, another video. So I'm gonna share this with you guys too. Let me switch back over.
Oh, this one right here is very, very intriguing. With all the fucking bullshit going on with these wildfires, it's very interesting to know this tidbit of information. It's going to be very eye-opening. Josh has not seen it yet, and
Nope.
I have seen it, and I'm like, I'm not shocked whatsoever, but at the same time, holy shit. Yeah.
So I'm just reading this and I just raised my brows when I just read this line, and we're going to play this video too. But so one billionaire couple owns almost all the water in California. In 94, the Resnick secretly seized control of California's public water supply. Now their company uses 150 billion gallons every year while working class people suffer under drought conditions. Let's see what this is about.
Oh.
40 million Californians suffer through unprecedented drought. One billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water system, seized in a series of secretive meetings 2 decades ago. That system was largely paid for by the very taxpayers whose water these billionaires hold hostage. Urban water systems are desperate for water, but in 2023, they'll receive just 5% of what they requested from the state. The Resnicks are the biggest farmers in California. As of 2007, they owned 4 San Francisco's worth of farmland. And nearly half of Americans buy at least one of their products. Their pistachios, their pomegranate juice, their mandarins, their flowers. It's all under one massive umbrella, the Wonderful Company, a privately owned company worth at least $5 billion. The majority owners, the Resnicks, are worth at least $8 billion. How were they able to take over such a large percentage of what should be a shared public resource? This is The Classroom from More Perfect Union, and today we're looking at how the Resnicks got rich.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not even. This is the surface they just scratched. That's it. Like, it gets so much more. The veil really comes off and where this money comes from. Basically, the taxpayers' money. They're getting a majority of the taxpayers' money and then putting it in the products and then selling it back to the taxpayers. So they're having to pay for this twice. Yeah.
What a workaround, man.
Yeah. Oh, it gets so much. It's so much more convoluted. It's crazy the layers that this guy peels off.
Linda is a former child actress, the daughter of Jack Harris, a successful movie distributor of the 1950s, most well known for The Blob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
At 19, she
Exciting
founded her
young
own
people.
advertising agency. Stewart was born to a middle-class New Jersey family and started his first business, a janitorial service, in grad school. He eventually
campy music
acquired
he uses in the
American
background.
Protection Services, a burglar alarm and security company. Linda approached him about marketing services for the company, and they hit it off, not knowing that one day they'd work together to take over California's water. The Lovebirds became business partners. They bought Teleflora, the flower delivery company, and the Franklin Mint, purveyors of inane little tchotchkes. Linda was the marketing person, and Stewart was in charge of business. As Linda told the LA Times in 1993, "I've always said that Stewart and I together make one perfect person, like little salt and pepper shakers." In the late 80s, they found their primary
With
industry,
$8 billion.
agriculture.
Pepper and salt.
They got into the pistachio business. Linda said, "We've done more for the pistachio than anyone ever since it was planted in the Garden of Eden. My husband should be canonized for all the work he's done." They started branching into other products: almonds, pomegranates, citrus, wine, and acquiring more and more land to cover it, including some very important land in Kern County, which granted them water rights in the area. As the Resnicks were building their empire, the state of California was building new water infrastructure with taxpayer money. California's natural water supply is very inconsistent. Vastly differing amounts of rainfall means the state can go from surplus to drought and back very easily. So they build water banks to store water during surpluses to have during droughts. One important storage facility is the Kern Water Bank, started in 1988. The facility was built with hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, which could have been a good thing. The people of California would have owned the water. But there were two Californians thirstier than the rest, and they wanted more water. Linda and Stuart Resnick, and they had a lot of political power. We'll get to that. In 1994, state water officials, water infrastructure contractors, and agricultural landowners with water rights arranged a secretive meeting at a resort in Monterey Bay, California. These groups, a mix of private companies and public agencies, rewrote California's water rules without any input from voters, taxpayers, or legislators. The new rules, called the Monterey Plus Agreement or the Monterey Amendments, were devastating for working Californians, and great for agriculture billionaires. The original code included urban preference, a long-standing rule that in times of drought, the state water board would give urban areas, where people live, access to water supplies before agricultural interests. Monterey axed that. That means that in times of drought, the water systems for normal Californians would have to buy water from private companies, because they weren't getting it from the state. The new agreement also loosened regulations on paper water. That's water that doesn't necessarily exist anywhere but on paper. The full quantities of water that providers could have, but don't actually need to have. Today, 5 times as much water has been promised and sold as actually exists. And importantly, the meeting changed ownership of the Kern Water Bank. What once belonged to the state was transferred to a few private water contractors, one of which was Westside Mutual, a wholly owned subsidiary of Wonderful Foods. The wonderful employee who runs Westside, Bill Phillimore, is the chairman of the public organization that manages the Kern Water Bank. Boom. One secret meeting, and the Resnicks owned nearly 60% of an important California water resource, built with hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money. The new ownership, combined with the rules on paper and surplus water, meant that during times of drought, the Resnicks could sell Kern water back to the state water systems. They took Californian taxpayers' water and sold it back to them, both literally as the water supply and also to grow expensive food like gourmet pistachios and pomegranate juice. They converted the people's water into products many can't afford. And that's just one water bank. The Resnicks also have control of other water boards and have been sued for directing more water towards their properties. So how do they get away with this Chinatown-level chicanery?
There's going to be a lot of irate citizens when they find out that they're paying for water that they're not going to get.
With philanthropy. The Resnicks donate millions of dollars to politicians and research institutions, which help them secure control over water systems, and even get more water and more taxpayer funding. One important project is the proposed California Delta Tunnel, a taxpayer-funded project which would send water from Northern California to Central, where the Resnicks farms are. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on state and federal legislation and politicians who support the tunnel project. But their favorite politician is Senator Dianne Feinstein.
You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway.
Chair of the Energy and Water Subcommittee. She's a close personal friend of the Resnicks, attending their holiday parties in Aspen and maintaining their financial interests. A quick look through the bills she sponsored shows several which would direct money to Kern-adjacent water projects. The Resnicks even ask her for things directly. When a pesky study about endangering salmon and shad fisheries threatened the Delta Tunnel, Stewart wrote a letter to Feinstein demanding a new study. She immediately forwarded it to the Obama administration, who agreed to spend $750,000 on a new study. It returned the same results as the first one. Can't buy science. But the Resnicks have tried. They are among the top donors to the University of California system, with their donations focusing on agricultural and ecological studies. The Resnicks have basically bought entire departments who put out studies on how water systems should be managed, and where funding should go.
Well, yeah.
That leads to even more federal and state taxpayer dollars being used to fix up what the Resnicks profit off of. This is all bad for California, even in a capitalistic sense. Agriculture uses 80% of California's water, but only represents 2% of its GDP. The Resnick's water monopoly is just one way their quest for wealth hurts the rest of us. They allegedly lobby for increased tensions with Iran to keep embargoes on superior Iranian pistachios. Their giant crops lead to monocultures which kill important pollinators. They siphon taxpayer dollars into the company town charter schools they own, set up to train children to work for their farms. And of course, like any company of this size, they exploit their workers. We need to treat water for what it is. A necessary public resource, a human right, and something that shouldn't be owned by anyone, and work towards legislative change that stops people like the Resnicks from stealing it.
Wow.
How informative, kids. Your thoughts?
Everybody, I'm just blown away that like this is public knowledge and it's still just allowed.
Nobody. All right, I'm not gonna say nobody. Critical thinkers will think of it. Okay, and shit like this is why Luigi's happen. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that like through legislation or buying politicians or policy, you can by proxy put somebody into poverty and death.
Yeah.
So being able to manipulate such a resource such as water and make people pay for it,
The building block of life, like the most basic thing needed to survive.
3/4 of the earth, and you own like that's
Let's monetize it and own it.
But like everybody in California, like if you have a shortage of water and you have all these fires or whatever, follow the money. People
They won't rise up. They won't.
They don't know. They're too busy booing Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, that's coming up.
Yeah.
I also read, well, we'll talk about that when we get there because that just changed my thought process. But sticking in California, this is kind of leading towards that conspiracy theory idea. But once again, the more educated you are, the more open you can think, the less you are controlled. So this was actually sent to me by a friend about the fires that are going on there.
Maui 2.0. Possibly.
So let's switch over so you can see this.
As a 3-time United States Digital City Award winner, the City of Los Angeles has been investing in the infrastructure, the apps, and the data tools to be a globally recognized smart city. But as technology evolves, so our smart city must evolve too. That's why we have developed our Los Angeles Smart City Strategy, known as Smart LA 2028, as a roadmap to the 2028 Summer Olympics. It includes 56 new goals that use technology to transform the way we live, work, and move around LA. Check it out here.
Well, you got a pretty
Thank
clean
you.
slate.
Just another coincidence, right?
Yeah, dude.
Pretty clean slate there.
They were that, and the funny thing is, like I mentioned Maui before you popped that video off. They wanted Maui to be a smart city, and Oprah wanted a lot of the land that was there, and a lot of people didn't want to sell it.
Yep.
Draw your own conclusion. And then it also had The Rock on there panhandling with fucking Oprah to try to get people to donate when they're both like multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever, you know, ridiculously rich people. Yeah, so like what a way to get things started by going scorched earth. I don't know.
So I just got to thinking when we were talking about that of another video, and I'm going to see if I can find it real quick without getting too sidetracked or distracted. But there's another video where it was from The View, and it made me think of you, and I wish I would have shared it with you when I saw it. But it was, they were all sitting around talking about how legislation, and they were talking about some podcast that is the biggest one in America for women.
Not us.
What is it?
It's not us.
No. It was called like Call Her Daddy or something.
Yeah.
And it was just a debate about abortion, and they were talking about how there's no laws. Can you name a single law that forces men to do something with their body that they don't want to? And they watch that clip, and then they go back to the people of The View, and there's a guy on The View, and he just so happened to be eating a banana at the time.
Yeah.
It was so perfectly timed. He's like, Whoopi, the draft. He goes, only males have to register for a draft to go fight in a war that they have zero interest in without any choice of control of their body, or they go to jail.
Wow.
It was just crickets.
Yeah,
It was just
dude. If foot in mouth was a fucking show, it's definitely The View.
Yep.
These chicks, I don't know. They think they're louder and they're more because they have a platform to reach out to people. That they think that if they can play the victim card or highlight where people are victims when actually like none of them are suffering.
Yep.
By the way,
Just because you can get loud,
it doesn't make you more valid. It doesn't make you any more authentic. They're just fucking echo chambers. They're really programming people that watch it because like you just hear in day-to-day life people echo those sentiments and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's just wild. Switching subjects again.
This
is something that was going on at CES 2025. So if anybody is unaware, I'll share their screen in a minute. But CES is Consumer Electronics Show. Happens every single year, and they normally go through and announce a lot of new technology like graphics cards. NVIDIA is usually doing a lot of dumps there and stuff.
Bluetooth butt plugs, all kinds of shit.
Oh man, you can link straight to it from your phone.
Right.
But there are a bunch of leaks going around in the video game world about Nintendo's next console, which hypothetically is being called Nintendo Switch 2. But there must have been some kind of NDA that was originally established and it expired because Nintendo must have delayed the console originally, because all these accessory makers are leaking what it looks like, except for the name, all this other stuff. But we're going to share our screen right now so you can watch this video. This is from a company called Genki, and this is a company that makes a bunch of different accessories for all different kinds of systems, computers, for streaming, all this other jazz. But this was their latest video playing at their booth behind their counter. So this is... and they actually had the mock-up of this system too in a 3D printed that people could touch and play with, but this is a video that they released of their product. And Nintendo has not officially shown off this console yet. There's no sound to the video either.
Now the specs on it you said were, on par with PS5 Pro?
No, not with Pro. They're close to a PS5 because of the fact that it uses what's called DLSS technology, which the PS5 Pro has its own version of it called PSSR. And what all that is, guys, is AI is used on the chip in order to upscale the game's resolution and upscale the game's frame rate. So it's using artificial technology or artificial intelligence to upscale these games. The patent on this shows that you can take 540 to 1080, you can take 720 to 4K, and in all the games that you watch with DLSS, if you watch any videos, better refractions, better lighting. It has more features, and it should because it's a more modern console. It has more features that are in a lot of the new graphics card that NVIDIA and stuff are making. But what's crazy about this, guys, it has not even been announced yet, and there's all these different videos of this console out there, different leaks every single day. But this is going to be a Switch that is able to play all of the AAA games that any of the other consoles can, because they can be upscaled to match that.
Because that's the one thing that Nintendo didn't have. They always had like the cartoony, you know what I mean?
Well,
can you
they
imagine
always
them
did.
doing like an almost like realistic Mario or a realistic Zelda. That would be fucking dope.
Even if they did, like Zelda would be amazing, but I could just imagine Mario Kart with new particle effects, all this other random stuff. But there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, like when Blizzard or Microsoft acquired Blizzard. For the next 10 years, they also get a deal signed with Nintendo. Every Call of Duty goes to them. Game Pass is being negotiated with them, so you could probably play Xbox games on this too.
That's crazy.
Yep. But no official thing. The closest thing that's being talked about is that there might be an official unveil next week. Rumored release in April.
Wow. Now, I mean, I also heard on the radio they were talking about doing a Game Boy, but like I haven't looked into any of that. I don't know why you would do a Game Boy when you already have like a handheld that can be played on a TV. So it feels like you're going backwards. Plus, with all the different third-party little emulators, they're like they look like Game Boys where you can play several.
You're 100% right, though.
Am I? Nintendo and Lego are collaborating.
Game Boy set. This was just announced yesterday. It is going to be a Lego Game Boy.
Oh, so you just build a Game Boy.
They did an NES with it. Vegas too.
I remember. I seen that. I seen
You
that.
got a TV that you could actually scroll the screen that you made out of Legos.
Why don't you just go buy a fucking Game Boy rather than do all that work of building one? Some Legos I think are cool as fuck when you build them and stuff.
Yep.
But like, might as well just go buy the console if you really want to look at it like that.
Right.
But no, there are some really badass fucking Legos where they get assembled and you're like, holy shit, the intricacies and the time. You know, like that dude that brought the fucking Millennium Falcon out and showed Harrison Ford's bitch ass, and Harrison act like he dropped it and smashed it. I'd have been throwing hands, dude.
Yeah.
Celeb or not, like the hours that dude had on that. Like, I hope he got compensated for that because that was the total dick move.
Yeah, there's that game right there, or where it's the NES one, showing him build it from start to finish.
Wow.
Next up, we had Netflix is a new partner, and they made sure you knew it. But they are a new partner for WWE. Not all WWE, just Raw at this moment. But I'm gonna pull this up for you. And all right, so this past Monday, and it was actually the first time that I actually did watch a wrestling episode, literally start to finish, in decades. My son started getting back into wrestling. I kind of pulled away from it when WCW went defunct, but then my son got into it, so I know who some of these guys are now. But that production that they did on Monday, if anybody watched it, it was a super long show. Wasn't it 3 hours?
It's 3 hours.
3 hours. But they put, I guess, $5 billion into this investment to be able to bring Raw over to Netflix.
They're going to have to switch their formula. I have not watched Raw or any pay-per-views in quite some time. Like, I'll catch up, like, my buddy that was recently staying with me, like, the last 2 years, who recently passed. He was a big wrestling watcher. So, like, when I saw it, I was like, I would come into the room, he'd be watching it or whatever. But that's kind of what have incentivized me to watch it when it went to Netflix, because we had talked about it going to Netflix and how if it would, the profanity would increase or anything would change or anything like that. If they would change the recipe, maybe go back to the Attitude Era because of the restrictions and stuff like that. I stopped watching because, as I told you before, like, I watched some Dark Sides of the Ring where Vince McMahon handled the Jimmy Snuka and his girlfriend being murdered, how Vince McMahon handled Chris Benoit's remaining son after the Benoit tragedy. I'm just like, this dude's a piece of shit. I don't want to give him my time or money. And that's, again, me voting with my dollar. I kind of do that with a lot of the stuff that I digest. But I figured, since Vince kind of like fucked himself and pushed himself out the door, which he recently tweeted, we can show that after this, but that his hands weren't so much into it. It always made me wonder, like, the people that remain, like your Hunter Hearst Helmsley and all the other people, how much did they know about this dude, and they still are carrying the torch?
And I've always said that.
Yeah.
There's no way when you're married to his daughter that you don't know it all.
You got to know something. But at the
at
same
least
time,
the majority of it. I'm not saying you're participating.
Self-preservation. This man's a multimillionaire now. Like, I'm sure he's not going to sit there and highlight it, because then it would jade his character.
And he's also not trying to defamate the WWE. So.
Right. It was, yeah. But after watching this, it's so fucking corporate. There was 4 matches in 3 hours, dude. Everybody's entrance was as long, if not longer, than the Undertaker's old school entrance when he used to walk out and take a fucking hour to get there. Like, it was more plug. The matches were okay. I think the Seth Rollins CM Punk match was probably the best of all of them. But I thought I'd give it a try, and I don't know. Like, you have so much sponsorship on your fucking mat right now. You're just, I don't want
the jargon of what WWE and wrestling used to be, which was always the promotions or the talking, to become promotions for companies.
Yeah.
The wrestlers were still able to perform amazingly. I get that, but it was an advertisement for how many times did they tell us that Netflix. Even The Rock, finally, Netflix or WWE has come back to Netflix. Number one, never was on it.
Right.
But number two, I think the word that they said Netflix happened, 100 times.
Fortnite was front and center. Of course, that's the most popular thing in the world right
But I know where I'm watching. I don't. I knew I logged on to Netflix. I didn't need them to continuously remind me.
I cringed because I guess the storyline, like Rock, and I saw this, like Rock sided with Roman Reigns, and then Cody completed his dream or whatever and beat Roman Reigns for the title after so long, and then like The Rock kind of sided with Roman Reigns to try to take Cody out, and then all of a sudden like The Rock's on there shilling for Cody, like, and thanking him and stuff like that. He's also a majority owner in a lot of things that have to do with that, if I do remember correctly. Like, he has a lot of shares, whatever. So, like, what makes me, again, not want to consume your shit.
Man, did he look like Batista instead of The Rock?
The Batista just looks like somebody's lesbian uncle.
Oh, yeah,
right
he does now.
Yeah,
he's with his cardigans. But
emaciated.
But I looking at The Rock with his short white beard, the glasses that Batista always wears, he's got the bald head. Yeah. I'm like, this guy looks like...
I'm over the fucking Rock, dude. I used to be so excited when I'd see, oh, he's in a movie. And now, like, when you kind of see him shilling with these elitist people like Oprah and stuff like that during the Maui incident, the authenticity of that man it's not there for me. And
right.
Again, I don't give two fucks about him. So, but do we have anything about Hogan and how he got booed?
That was actually what I was. We were just going to talk about it when we came across. I was looking for what to put up, and I thought this was the most perfect one because I did watch it. It made me watch it because I just wanted to see what it was going to be about or how they were going to do it. But what I read about Hogan is that they weren't even booing him, and I don't know what Jimmy Hart did.
I thought that man was dead.
So did I.
I was like,
so did I.
Did I like fucking go into another universe where he was alive?
I thought he died a long time ago.
I thought it was a couple years ago. I didn't think it was that long.
You know who we're thinking of is Mean Gene Okerlund.
Oh, he definitely died.
Yeah, because I remember that being there. But I did think Jimmy Hart was dead. Yeah, so but I don't know why people said they were booing him and not Hogan, but they said they were booing him.
No, all right. The reasons I can see that Hogan got booed, there are some questionable moves that he's made throughout WWF and WWE history. He kind of like sucked up to certain people. He would stab people in the back. But he also protected the business, I guess. The steroid scandal back in the fucking 90s, early 2000s. But also, I guess he'd said the N-word on a podcast back in the day, so they didn't like him for that. And then when he came out publicly, supported Trump. Now, if you think you're supporting the supporting of Trump in California is a fucking blue state. I don't know why they're communist as fuck over there anymore. Because they don't know they can't see the forest through the trees. Obviously, their policies are terrible. Like you're like the homeless capital of the world, and you're like the biggest fucking state.
Yep.
But I don't know if they were politically booing him, booing his character, or if it was like everything lumped in together, or
right,
the plug on his Great American Beer.
That's another product.
He got booed the fuck out of the building. That was like, I haven't seen him get booed like that since he turned heel in NWO.
Right, because he was just showing up not to wrestle. He was just showing up as here's one of the legends.
Yeah, he couldn't take a bump anymore.
It was he's
far too many operations, too old. I don't think he could take a bump right now.
Oh, no.
I mean, he looks great for being an old guy. He's pretty in shape, but like he walks around, you can hear him. He sounds like a transformer. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, they booed him fuck out, and then what happens next? Oh, the town that booed him is on fire. Dismisses coincidence. Hogan.
Ushering
in the NWO again.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, we are currently working on some new merchandise that's going to go up. Some pretty ridiculous stuff that we've got some good ideas for. I hopefully should have those done for this next show, but before we get going, I do want to give us one last piece of switching over for our official merch store, because anything you guys order off of here just helps us continue the show, helps us continue to make improvements. Plus, we have some pretty great stuff up here. We discussed this in a mini cast that we did last week where we went over mainly this Bat Moist logo that we came up with. But there is plenty of different options on here for you guys as far as...
We need to color that background.
Yep. We're going to continue to make some improvements on different things too, but everything from Make America Moist Again to our vector arts that we have at the beginning and end of this stream. There's a lot of different products that are on here. So if you like anything, place an order. That will help us continue to do this, and keep an eye out for some new merchandise coming.
Yeah, fuckers.
That's right.
Buy
That's
my
right.
shit.
Buy it now. Guys, we'll be back this next Friday
I got
for
water
you
to
too.
buy in Pennsylvania. I'm going to buy 80% of Pennsylvania's water supply.
Well, it's going to be 2 people own it all.
2 people.
And I'm going to fly my drone over top of it.
Fucking right.
But guys, we appreciate you for joining us once again. Make sure you push that subscribe and like button. We appreciate your time. And until next time, stay moist.
Stay moist.